My first day in the book, I was kneeling in the great hall with other new ladies before I even knew the palace layout. The king, far from the wise and patient ruler everyone whispered about, fixed his gaze on the pale girl next to me and barked, "Ill omen! Kill her!" I trembled as she was condemned. When the king turned to me, a cruel smile playing across his lips, he said, "This one stays." That night, he dragged me to his chambers, tormenting me without end. Afterward, I became nothing more than a tool for his whims. I endured it in silence, hiding every ounce of my suffering. Then, on the day I gave birth, I found a small, furry wolf cub between my legs. Shock rooted me to the spot. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was a nightmare masquerading as royalty. Was this some cosmic joke? Fear slammed into me like a tidal wave. I scrambled through my fragmented memories of the original story. The book's ending had been rushed and unfinished. The main character, King Cyrus, had masqueraded as a benevolent, diligent ruler, but in truth, he was a brutal, merciless tyrant. And the original Clara, whose body I now inhabited, had been nothing but disposable. After her first night with the king, she had secretly drunk a contraceptive potion. Cyrus caught her and sneered, "If you love your medicines so much, drink it all." The consequence had been horrifying. Clara had been forced to consume an entire barrel until her body gave out. That gruesome fate was burned into my memory. To survive, I had spent a year perfecting absolute obedience. If he wanted a bed companion, I stayed silent. If he demanded submission, I didn't resist. If he commanded me to lie face down, I never dared turn. I had been meticulous, flawless, invisible. And for what? I forced a weak smile at the small cub wriggling between my legs. This wasn't just a secret. It was an abomination that could corrupt the royal bloodline. Witchcraft. A dark omen that could plunge the kingdom into chaos. Would the king feed me to the wolves? Or worse, burn me and this cub alive? My thoughts spiraled. The cub rolled onto its back, tongue poking out, and licked its soft fur. Almost cute? No. Snap out of it. That thing could be my death sentence. A voice outside froze me in place. "How is Lady Clara?" The servant's reply trembled like a candle in the wind. "Your Majesty, the child is born, but as long as the child is alive, that is all that matters," Cyrus said, his voice oddly cheerful. Please tell me he wasn't excited to be a father. If he knew what I had delivered, he'd be wishing for both our deaths. Footsteps approached, and my heart pounded like a war drum. There was no time for maternal bonding. With lightning-fast reflexes, I grabbed the cub by its tail and shoved it beneath the bed. "Be quiet," I whispered, panic lacing my voice. "If you make a sound, dinner will be wolf stew, and you're the main course." A tiny whimper escaped, then silence. Cyrus entered. Even in simple robes, he radiated a dangerous aura. His eyes scanned the empty bed, impatience flickering across his face. "Where is the child?" Could I lie to a man who could silence a crying infant with a glare? No, I couldn't. The child didn't survive. The memory of the original Clara's gruesome fate played in my mind. Fear rooted me. My lips quivered as the words barely escaped. Cyrus closed the gap with a single step and grabbed my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. His fingers were ice against my skin. "Answer me. Where is the child?" I swallowed my fear, calling on every ounce of acting skill. "It's my fault, Your Majesty. I was too weak. I couldn't save the child." His eyes dimmed. I recognized that expression. Producing an heir had been a national priority. To fail, the devastation was immediate. Crash. A wardrobe tumbled as his rage exploded. "Excellent. You couldn't save him," he spat with sarcasm. Outside, cries and pleas erupted. He leaned close, voice dropping to a frigid whisper. "You have the face of an angel, the body of a goddess, and yet, you're utterly useless." Tears streamed. Useless? Who had endured him all night, fulfilling every command. Now, he dismissed my efforts? Silence fell, broken only by the trembling voice of the Lord Chamberlain. "Your Majesty, what shall be done with Lady Clara?" Cyrus didn't glance at me. "She cannot even secure a royal heir. Leave her. Let her rot." A weight lifted. Life spared. No more bed warming, no more fear, no more unpredictable tyranny. I bowed my head to the mattress, a faint smile forming. "This servant thanks Your Majesty for his mercy." Within hours, the Rose Pavilion was stripped bare. The midwife, a potential threat, was eliminated for incompetence. Loose ends tied. Clutching the cub, I began my new life in the Forgotten North Tower. At first, it was grim. Food was barely edible, but freedom tasted sweet. No tyrant to please, no early mornings. I could sleep as long as I wanted. A perfect exile. A month later, a familiar guard knocked. Ethan, my childhood sweetheart, now a husband and father, risked nightly patrols to leave me baskets of hot food. The cub, whom I named Howl, thrived on the generous meals. Howl grew quickly, clever beyond belief. Before a year had passed, he was nearly full-grown, intelligent, and obedient. He would bring flowers, comfort me at night, and remain unseen in the quiet North Tower. Time drifted by, half a year of peaceful solitude. Then, during the Harvest Moon Festival, unease crept in. Howl was unusually silent, curled in the corner. Sleep claimed me, but a mournful howl echoed in the haze between waking and dreaming. A violent bang tore through the night. The door flung open. Cyrus, reeking of alcohol, stumbled in, eyes bloodshot and predatory. My heart raced. He tied a silk ribbon over my eyes, plunging me into darkness. Touch it and you die. Blindfolds. A new trick in his endless games. I froze, biting my lip as his hands moved rough and urgent. Despite the fear, I couldn't deny the effect. The king was skilled, dominant yet precise. But as I surrendered to the dizzying moment, my hand brushed against something soft and furry.
Howl.
Panic surged. Howl was on the bed. Your Majesty, please wait. I gasped, pressing against his chest. Cyrus murmured against my lips, not slowing even a fraction. I twisted and struggled. Not tonight, we can't. I tried to tear off the blindfold, but he seized my wrist in an iron grip, his voice low and dangerous. Can't what? Hiding something from me. I had always been obedient in his bed, but this was the first time I fought back. My voice trembled. It's nothing, it's just this place is so filthy. Before I could finish, there was a knock at the door. It was Ethan, my kind-hearted childhood friend. Clara? It's the festival. I brought mooncakes and roasted meats for you. Silence answered him. Then worry crept into his voice. Clara? Are you asleep? Is everything all right? The door creaked open. CLA. A single syllable escaped before Cyrus's enraged kick sent him flying across the room. The next moment, I was thrown from the bed onto the floor. Cyrus's cruel smile cut through the shadows. No wonder you were content to rot in this tower. A lover, were you? Sneaking food in the dead of night. How touching. I hit the ground hard, vision blurring. It felt like the end. No, it's not. I coughed, tears streaming. Not.
His voice chilled me.
If I recall, this is the boy you were betrothed to before coming here? You can't forget your old flame? Carrying on under my nose. A wave of panic surged through me. I grabbed the hem of his robe. No, he just brought food. Nothing else happened. We've done nothing wrong. Ethan scrambled to his knees, banging the floor. Your Majesty, I swear, there is nothing between us. Silence. Cyrus roared, kicking the basket of food, scattering its contents. Alone at night? Do you take me for a fool? He barked orders to the guards. 2 swords gleamed as they entered. Cyrus leaned down, icy fingers on my chin. Clara, the one thing I cannot tolerate is deceit. Then, a small voice cut through the tension. Don't hurt my mommy. Everyone froze. A tiny boy, no more than 3, darted from the shadows, wearing the tunic I had sewn, face set with determination. He planted himself in front of me, glaring at the king. Howl. I whispered, I'll protect you, mommy. His courage echoed in his voice. Cyrus's eyes flickered between us, disbelief giving way to understanding. So that's it, he hissed. You feared I would discover this abomination? No, it's not. I tried to speak, but the words failed me. Bad man. Let my mommy go. Howl lunged, sinking teeth into Cyrus's arm. The king grunted, then flung him across the room. When he landed, something impossible occurred. A radiant silver light enveloped him. In an instant, Howl transformed into a wolf cub, for shimmering like polished silver, ears alert, tail high. He bared his fangs, snarling. The room fell deathly silent. The guards froze, faces pale. Ethan stared in disbelief. I collapsed, limbs heavy, strength gone. It was over. Everything was over. This wasn't just treason anymore. It was proof. I had birthed a magical creature, a potential curse on the palace. I looked at Cyrus, who stared at Howl, pupils constricted, breathing ragged. His face, though shocked, carried a strange glimmer, excitement. "Everyone out," he commanded. "If a word of this reaches anyone, your families will pay." The guards scrambled away. Cyrus kicked Ethan with icy contempt. "You too."
Out.
Alone with Howl in wolf form, the air thickened with tension. "When was this child born?" he asked. I slumped to the floor, exhausted. A year of trying to change my fate, had it failed? 6 months ago, I admitted, voice hoarse, recounting the whole story, including my lies. Cyrus's jaw twitched when I mentioned Howl's non-survival. "And Ethan?" he asked, curiosity flickering. Defiance rose. I laughed bitterly. "You abandoned me, left us to starve. If not for Ethan, Howl, and I wouldn't be alive to be here today." Cyrus was visibly stunned. Panic gripped me. I had spoken too freely. What if he chose cruelty instead of mercy? I dropped to my knees. "I know my sins are great, but I beg you, your majesty, spare the child. Release him into the forest. Let him live." Silence. Finally, he spoke. "Since he was born, you will raise him well, my firstborn son." I stared in disbelief. He wasn't going to kill us? He acknowledged Howl as his child? Before I could process it, Cyrus left, saying only that provisions for the Rose Pavilion would be restored. I cradled Howl, now human again, bewildered. The next day, a royal decree arrived. I was elevated to Duchess, skipping multiple ranks. Holding Howl, I marveled at the newly refurbished Rose Pavilion. Ethan, too, was promoted, captain of the Royal Guard. Everything felt surreal, impossibly perfect. When I tried to take Howl out, palace guards politely but firmly stopped us. His Majesty's orders. The young crown prince must rest, shielded from the wind. The Rose Pavilion was a gilded cage, comfortable, safe, but not free. Still, survival felt like victory. Cyrus visited occasionally, silently watching Howl. The boy, now human but with wolf ears, wore little hats to hide them, glaring fiercely at the king when he tried to touch them. After the Harvest Festival incident, fear of Cyrus had lessened. Respect remained, but I no longer lived in constant anxiety. New Year approached. Snow blanketed the palace courtyard. Howl, wearing a tiger head hat, dashed gleefully into the snow. "Mommy, snowman." I joined him, laughter filling the courtyard. Then I noticed a figure at the palace gate, Cyrus. Dark clothes dusted with snow, watching us, a gentle smile I had never seen on him. The snowball in my hand fell. I pulled Howl behind me, bowing formally. "The little one is growing fast," Cyrus said awkwardly. "Yes, your majesty," I replied. "Thanks to your grace, he is strong and clever." Cyrus frowned at the name Howl. "I couldn't keep calling him a cub, your majesty," I said quickly. "We will choose a proper name," he murmured. He brushed a snowflake from my hair, an unexpected gentleness jolting me back. I leapt away, heart racing. "Tomorrow, I will lift your confinement," he added. "But don't let anyone see his ears, not yet. It will be safe after he turns 2. My chest tightened. How did he know? Could it be possible? The next morning brought a new imperial announcement. According to the proclamation, I was now recognized as the woman who had secretly given birth to the crown prince, Kalen. The decree praised my supposed dedication to the royal bloodline and claimed that I had voluntarily entered seclusion for the sake of the prince's fragile health. Now that he was thriving, the court was to honor me with a new title, Grand Duchess. I knelt on the cold floor as the decree was read aloud, my chest tightening with each ornate line. Soon after, the Midwinter Gala arrived, my first public appearance carrying this new title on my shoulders. When I stepped into the dazzling banquet hall with Kalen at my side, every gaze shifted to us. Some curious, some sizing me up, some resentful. A few simply hateful. Cyrus sat upon the throne, his eyes sweeping over me and our child. A tiny nod told me everything. I was to endure this night without incident. I bowed my head and focused on staying unnoticed. It did not work. The queen glided toward me, her expression a gentle mask. She held a goblet toward me in a gesture so public that refusal was impossible. Her voice was sweet as syrup. "Grand Duchess, you have gifted the kingdom its heir. This queen drinks to your merit." The hairs on the back of my neck rose. Still, I accepted the cup and swallowed the wine. Heat bloomed in my stomach almost instantly, then surged through my body like a wave of fire.
No.
Absolutely not. This was no poison. It was something far less merciful. A crude, vicious stimulant meant to turn any person into a spectacle. She wanted me humiliated. Struggling to stay composed, I clutched Kaelin's hand and slipped out of the hall. Near the rock garden, a maid stepped in front of me. I had never seen her before. "Your Grace, an old acquaintance is waiting for you." "I have no such acquaintance." "Move," I said, trying to push past. She did not move. Her fingers clamped around my arm like iron. Malice flickered in her eyes. Kaelin reacted first. He sank his teeth into her wrist. She cried out and released her grip, just long enough for me to escape. I spun and ran straight into a broad, familiar chest. Cyrus. He caught me easily. Behind him, guards dragged the struggling maid away as he assessed me with a face carved from fury. "Your Majesty," I breathed. My hands curled around his neck without any conscious thought. My voice came out soft and strange, as if honey had coated my throat. "Something is wrong. I feel so hot." Cyrus stiffened. He took one look at my flushed skin, then swept me into his arms and carried me into his private chambers. The drug was relentless. It smothered every rational thought. I reached for him, pressed clumsy kisses along his jaw. My need was embarrassing, frantic. His breath caught. Something inside him snapped. The rest dissolved into a blur of scorching heat. At some point, my hand brushed something soft. A pair of warm, velvety triangles at the top of his head. I jerked awake, clarity crashing over me. I stared up through flickering candlelight at the man above me. His dark hair was mussed against the pillows, his skin flushed. And among the strands rested two unmistakable wolf ears. My chest tightened. So the father was not entirely human. It was never about me giving birth to something impossible. The secret had always been him. Before I could fully react, his voice, low and rough from desire, cut through my shock. "Is that enough?" he murmured, then kissed me again, sending another powerful wave of heat through me. The night stretched. When the fire finally burned itself out, I could barely lift my hand. Cyrus rested beside me with his eyes closed, chest rising and falling steadily. I stared at him, mind swirling. That man had kept the secret from me all this time. "Your Majesty owes me an explanation," I croaked. He opened his eyes slowly. Emotion flickered across his expression before settling into something resigned. "You saw it for yourself," he said quietly. "I carry the blood of the wolf kin." He began to speak, and with each sentence, the truth grew more surreal. The royal family, the House of Cyrus, descended from the ancient Silver Moon Wolf King, a bloodline awarded extraordinary strength. Yet it came with a flaw. True heirs were rare, almost mythical. Only those who inherited the pure bloodline manifested the traits of their ancestors. The rest were no different from ordinary nobles. And Cyrus was the purest heir born in centuries. The Silver Moon Wolf King of this age. My mouth hung open. So I was some sort of miracle vessel that managed not to die giving birth to his child. Wonderful. "This secret cannot leave the bloodline," he said, watching me closely. "I should have told you sooner. I am sorry." I frowned, recalling darker memories. "Then when you executed Lord Ashworth's daughter and the midwife." Cyrus's eyes hardened. "Lady Ashworth was planted here to uncover the truth about the bloodline. The midwife intended to harm you during labor. I did what needed to be done." I was stunned, speechless. I had spent a year trembling before him, convinced he was a merciless tyrant, only to learn he had been shielding me without a word. "But you said you wanted me dead," I muttered. I still remembered his cold command, telling them to let me rot. Cyrus looked genuinely uncomfortable for a moment. He pulled me against him as if trying to erase the memory with body heat. "I was wrong," he admitted. "When I believed the child had not lived, I thought I had failed the bloodline. I lashed out in anger at myself, not you. When I learned the truth later, shame made me hesitate to face you." My heart loosened slightly. The anger that had clung to me began to ebb away. He continued, voice low. "As for Night, I failed again. The Queen's family holds too much influence. I cannot strike directly yet. For now, she has been sent to a monastery outside the capital. She will remain there for a year." I pressed my lips together. I knew why he had to wait. In the original timeline, this very queen allied with her father and a powerful duke to overthrow the throne. The thought chilled me. Cyrus brushed his fingers through my hair. "I must travel south soon to oversee the canal works. The court will be tense while I am gone. Clara, I need you to watch over Kaelin. And take care of yourself too." He called me Clara, not duchess or woman or concubine. Warmth bloomed in my chest. I met his gaze, stubborn emotion pricking my eyes. I do not care about politics. I gave you a child. You better come back alive. He froze as if stunned. Then, slowly, a deep feeling surfaced in his eyes. He bent down and placed a soft kiss on my forehead. I will return, he whispered. You have my word. With Cyrus away, the palace felt unusually still. The corridors echoed with emptiness, and the familiar bustle seemed distant. I cradled Kaelin in my arms, watching the grand carriage fade down the avenue. A hollow ache tugged at my chest. Mommy, when is Daddy coming back? Kaelin mumbled, his small face pressed against my shoulder. A glimmer of silver fur peeked out from under his hat. I quickly adjusted it, telling myself that his father was busy overseeing massive works, not taking a leisurely trip. Daddy want to get special treats for you, Kaelin, I said gently. He'll be back soon. Days slipped by in a rhythm of quiet, controlled domesticity. I embraced laziness, meddling little, and the palace ladies seemed content to leave me in peace. Then one morning, I doubled over the basin, retching violently. The royal physician's careful, congratulatory smile confirmed my fears. I was pregnant again. Cyrus, you reckless man. Just once, I thought. Just once. I touched my belly, still flat but growing rounder by the day, emotions twisting in a complex knot. Even though we had Kaelin, the threat to our child remained. The queen was gone, but her family's reach ran deep. Who knew what schemes were being plotted while Cyrus was absent? I looked at Kaelin, standing on tiptoe to pat my cheek, and felt the weight of responsibility settle over me. Slowly, carefully, I began forging alliances, hosting tea for loyal noble wives, planting seeds of trust and protection, preparing quietly for the storm I knew was coming. Time passed. My belly swelled. When the physician examined me, his cautious voice revealed the impossible. Twins.
Twins.
My hands trembled as they rested over my stomach. A mixture of awe and exhaustion washed over me. By August, the Harvest Moon Festival arrived. Osmanthus perfumed the evening air. Kaelin stirred in his sleep, a faint silver glow enveloping him. He shifted, fangs showing slightly, clinging to my sleeve. Mommy, bad people. I held him close, senses sharp. I'm here. You're safe. Then, the distant clash of steel shattered the night. My handmaiden burst in, pale as snow. Your Grace, the Duke of Blackwood and the Queen have brought troops to the palace. They say they intend to purge the court and execute the Demonis. My mind blanked. The coup had come early. Shouts, screams, and the metallic ring of swords grew closer. Clara, witch, you've corrupted the palace. Face your punishment. The Queen herself had arrived, united with the Duke. The heavy doors of the Rose Pavilion splintered under force. Soldiers poured in, swords glinting, forming a threatening line. The Queen, radiant in full ceremonial regalia, advanced with a triumphant air. I tucked Kaelin safely behind the bed curtains before stepping forward. Your Majesty, I said coolly, are you sure you wish to commit treason? Treason? Ha ha ha, she hissed, circling me. Cyrus is weak. He consorts with a Demonis. I am saving this kingdom. Her eyes narrowed, and I noticed her slight belly. Pregnant. I raised an eyebrow. No wonder you chose tonight. Is the child the Duke's? What if it is? She sneered. If the midwife hadn't sent word when you gave birth, I would never have known. That wolf you call king, and the monster you birthed, he treasures it. She gestured at my swelling belly. Cyrus cannot give me a child, but I can. I will destroy the one in your womb and see you and your demon offspring join it in death. Her hands lunged toward me, claws extended. A silver flash lit the room. Kaelin leapt from behind the curtains, his fur shimmering, low growl rumbling. Monster. It is a monster, the Queen shrieked. Kill it. Kill them both. I clutched my stomach, fear paralyzing me. Then, a roar like thunder echoed through the courtyard. Steel clashed, and the weight of raw power filled the air. My wife. Who dares harm her? Cyrus appeared, dusted from travel, aura blazing with fury. The Duke of Blackwood colluded with foreign powers and has been executed, he thundered. The Queen, a co-conspirator, is guilty of treason. Seize her. The tide turned instantly. The Queen shrieked, pointing to the inner chamber. The Crown Prince is a demon. Clara birthed an abomination. I was protecting the kingdom. Kaelin, rubbing sleepy eyes, stepped from the chamber calmly. Bad lady, who are you calling a monster? The little hat had slipped, revealing a normal forehead. The wolf ears were gone. Murmurs spread, disbelief sweeping the room. Her lies unraveled instantly. Cyrus growled, "Vile woman, even at death's door, you spread slander? Guards, at your command." Ethan stepped forward. "The queen is guilty of treason, conspiracy, and attempting to harm the heir. Her accomplices are to be arrested immediately." Order returned in a swift, decisive motion. I sagged into Cyrus's arms, exhausted. "I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner," he whispered, holding me tight. Tears blurred my vision. "What took you so long?" He kissed my head, trembling. "It was my fault. Never again." After the coup, I was crowned queen. Only Cyrus remained at my side. He dismissed all others, declaring me his sole wife. That winter, twins arrived, Cole and Caleb. The kingdom rejoiced, but for me, the Rose Pavilion held a private, quieter celebration. Cyrus, mischievous and unrestrained, pressed his lips to mine. "Clara, one more time," he murmured. I shoved him, laughing through gritted teeth. "How many times tonight, Cyrus?" He ignored me completely, claiming my lips once more. Moonlight spilled across the bed, the night alive with warmth, passion, and a kingdom finally